Hello, and I'm Don Pratt, host of a show here on Rogers TV where we give you a perspective of policing your community. Welcome to Policing York Region. Today we have another fantastic opportunity, and we're going to talk about victim services with York Region. And to do that, we have Deb Phillips, and you've all seen Karen Hodge before. Karen has been on this show many times on behalf of York Regional Police, and she's done everything from the Traffic Bureau to volunteering and all those kinds of shows. So, Karen, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
So, victim services. This is a huge umbrella, and it's not really something we talk about too much. So, Deb, can you tell us a little bit about what is victim services?
So first of all, thank you for having me back.
Absolutely.
I'm delighted to be here.
Absolutely.
When I was on before, I know that I had mentioned that we are pretty much York Region's best kept secret,
Yes.
victim services.
Yes, agreed.
So what we do is we support people in their darkest hour. So people who have had a sudden tragedy occur or they've been victimized by a crime.
Right.
We work in partnership with police,
Yes.
and we attend on scene when it's the immediate aftermath of a situation.
Sure.
Provide emotional support and make a practical plan of assistance.
Wow. And this is a huge network, though. Like, this isn't just a small little.
No, excuse me. So, as you know, our region is growing.
It is.
It's becoming a very diverse region as
is.
well. So we have to meet the needs of many, many people. Unfortunately, our stats continue to go up. So we served 8,000 people last year in our programs.
8,000. Wow, I had no idea the
Yes.
magnitude of it.
A lot of people don't.
No. So where does, who is victim services? Like, where does this come from? I understand it's a not-for-profit?
We are a
Is that
not-for-profit.
right? Okay.
So we are funded by the Ministry of the Attorney General. So
Right.
they provide funding for all of our programs and for our staff. We have strict guidelines according to them as to how we operate, obviously. And we are also able to fundraise some extra dollars to include some extra programming, which we can chat a little bit about later. So we have a governing body, and they
Right.
dictate how we operate. But ultimately, our goal is to try and meet the needs of anyone who's been victimized.
Right. And so people do that by calling into victim services?
So they can self-refer.
Okay.
We get most of our referrals from police, York Regional Police, as well as the Ontario Provincial Police out of the Aurora Detachment.
Right.
We also have people refer from other agencies. So, for example, maybe Children's Aid Society or maybe another counseling agency. Sometimes we have schools that refer students. We get our referrals from all different types of sources. Also, fire and EMS.
Right. So, I mean, really, to put it in a package, a catastrophic event of any type happens, it's really the first responders
Yes.
that are calling you.
Absolutely. So we will go anytime, day or night. We have a system where we have backup people. We have people on call,
Right.
which can include our staff, but primarily our volunteers.
Yes.
Cover
I understand
the
you
bulk.
have a huge umbrella of volunteers.
Yes. So my joy every day is managing this wonderful group of approximately 100 people that volunteer with us, and in different capacities, but primarily in a victim response role.
Right.
So they are expected, after they're trained, they have a 60-hour mandatory training, they're expected to go out on scene and meet people where they're at in the immediate aftermath of some sort of a situation.
Absolutely.
And they make a plan, and they set priorities and try and get these people through the next few hours, with support.
Yeah.
They're also responsible to answer any calls that come in on our after hours line. So people calling in for support, maybe after they've experienced something as well, but they don't want that in-person support. They prefer something on the phone.
Yeah. No, and I want to talk a little bit about, I'm big on partnerships,
Yes.
And some of the other things that victim services does, and it ties into the holiday hero piece.
Right.
I'd love to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so you know me as the police officer, Karen, but outside of policing, I do a lot of other things.
Yes, of course.
And like to give back to the community.
Yeah.
But one of the biggest partnerships right now between York Regional Police and Victim Services is the Holiday Heroes. So, as police officers and first responders, we are going to traumatic scenes and visiting people primarily at the darkest of times,
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
And so to know that we've got our friends at Victim Services coming to help us,
Yes.
to help our community and help
Yes.
these people so that we can get on to the next family that might need us.
Absolutely.
It's pretty reassuring. And so when Holiday Heroes comes along,
Yes. Yes.
to know that we've got this partnership, I know all of the officers in YRP jump on this.
Oh, absolutely.
Jump on this pretty hard because these are people in the community that we've interacted with, and we know how hard it is for them in some circumstances. And to be able to
Absolutely.
give a little bit back
Yeah.
through the help of VSY is just, it's heartwarming, right? It's heartwarming to be able to give back.
Yeah, and Holiday Heroes is a huge
It's grown.
package. It really has. I mean, it's something that as Georgina Volunteers we've been involved in since its inception, and the giving back that you see in the community through the Holiday Hero program is just huge.
It's nice for us because when we typically go in to assist people, they're not happy.
No.
So when we get to do something like this once a year, we get to see people happy.
Absolutely.
It's wonderful for us and our volunteers.
Yeah. I know when we had a little bit of a roundtable down at Victim Services, and I was learning a little bit more about the involvement of Victim Services, York Regional Police, the Holiday Heroes. It's just amazing. The idea that it's not just at the event or immediately after, but this could be some time after. You're putting an extra
Yes.
smile on somebody's face, aren't you?
Exactly. And I think, too, people don't realize that these items that families request are very much items of necessity.
They're more of need, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So, which is, it's very... It's such a great way to give back as a community member, because you're able to. Some people think, if you're going out, you're buying a video game system or whatever, it's maybe not the best gift item, but we're giving people sheets, towels, toiletries, winter boots. Really.
The stuff we take for granted,
Exactly.
really, right?
Well, and that's what it is, isn't it?
It is, and to be
really
able
is.
to have people think that, that we really do care, right? We
Oh,
don't
yeah.
just care at the
Oh, yeah.
moment.
Yes.
Victim Services, York Regional Police, OPP, all of our first responders, we care all year long,
and,
right?
And, it brings a good note to it too, right? I mean, as first responders, you're very much affected by Victim Services as well. Like
Yeah.
you're tremendously supported.
Yeah.
I know I've seen some great videos earlier where officers were speaking to how much they appreciate, and they know that somebody is coming out to attend to the victims of a tragic circumstance.
Oh yeah, when you know that the call's being put in and you've been given the ETA of a volunteer that's attending, that sense of, okay, we're getting backup, right?
Yeah.
Like it's our backup.
It really
As a
is.
first
Yeah,
responder.
see, I never actually looked at it that way.
It's
It
our
really is,
backup
isn't it?
to really help this member of the community at this time, because albeit, we're very compassionate.
Of course.
Sometimes you need more.
And you also have a role to play
Yeah.
outside of addressing people's personal needs at
Yeah.
the time, right? I
Yeah.
mean, like each first responder, whether it be EMS, fire,
Yeah.
police.
And we know that they're going to get that aftercare,
Right.
right? Because trauma doesn't end
No.
when we leave
Absolutely
the house,
not.
No.
when VSY leaves the house, when EMS, it doesn't end there. And to know that
Yeah.
there's an organization that's going to be there and
Right.
it's just a phone call away,
Yeah.
and at the time of the holidays, to know that they step up and the whole community really steps up.
Yes, absolutely.
To, like Deb said, put a smile on someone's face.
It was a awakening moment for me when we were part of the mock trauma that was put on, and through this mock trauma, being a bystander, Rogers was there and we were watching everything unfold, and it was a traffic fatality, and just watching how many people were affected by that single incident, it's uncountable.
So that's why our numbers are so high.
Right.
Because we have people that are affected because they were directly injured, or perhaps they witnessed the event, or it's a loved one who lost somebody in the accident. It can spiral to many, many different people.
Yeah, of course.
And we support all of those people.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've talked to some of Karen's colleagues before too. When we talk about the mental health and the mental readiness, you've got that side to deal with as well, right? It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
right? There's so much to know about victim services. Like it's
Well, the other thing too, Don, about victim services is, so keep in mind all of your first responders are getting paid to go and do this, and they know what they're getting
Absolutely.
into. The volunteers with victim services, they're not getting paid. They are true volunteers.
Yeah.
They get amazing training to do what they're doing.
Yes.
But they're stepping in to do things that most people just can't do.
No, it's true.
And so they join us as partners in the community to see and do some of the hardest things that we as humans are ever tasked to do.
Yeah, and we actually had this conversation not so long ago that we're not all prepared mentally for that kind of thing. No. Right, like we just aren't. I shared that I'd had some traumatic, or come across some traumatic scenarios, and they left an everlasting impression on me. I'll never forget them. In no way was I prepared for it, and I still, I still to this day think about them. Right.
So when I'm training new groups of volunteers, people will share that their loved ones will say, "Why are you doing this again?"
Absolutely.
Because it is a huge responsibility.
It is.
And it is not cut out for everybody.
No. It's a calling.
It is a calling, Karen.
It's a
right.
calling.
It is a calling. On that note, ladies, folks, we'll be right back after this. Welcome back, everyone, as we continue our conversation. We're with Victim Services and Deb Phillips, and we also have Jacqueline here. Jacqueline, thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you, my pleasure.
And welcome. It's so now I understand that you are a volunteer with Victim Services.
Yes.
You also wear another hat. Can you explain that?
Yes, I am also a volunteer with the Crisis Therapy Dog Program. So my dog is Frenzy.
Yeah.
He is qualified through St. John's Ambulance, and we are also assist with Victim Services. So whenever there's like debriefs at schools or workplaces, or you have clients that need a little extra assistance when we're dealing with them, then we come in and we help.
That's phenomenal. And we're fortunate enough to have Frenzy right here in the studio, and we're just going to show a quick little shot of him. And now this is one gorgeous pup. And so Frenzy comes out on calls with you.
Yes. Yes.
So how does that work?
So basically, Frenzy's more deployed in more of a controlled setting. So he would not go to like a first responders call. He more so would go to school debriefs.
Okay.
Or he will go to workplaces, or he goes to when we have the clients come into the office, or we're meeting them at a controlled location. Just because we have to match the needs of the client as well as the safety for the animal.
That's phenomenal. Now, Deb, you were talking about this as being a pilot program. Can you talk a little bit about it?
So this started in 2013, and it was a project that included ourselves, St. John Ambulance, and York Regional Police. So it's a three-way partnership. Yeah. And so, first of all, before I get into that, I want to say that Jacqueline is an absolutely outstanding volunteer with us.
Yes, I've heard.
Jacqueline goes above and beyond in every way with our agency, and she has a dual role with our agency, which nobody else does. So it meant more training, it means more hours to commit, it's just way above and beyond. So really, really happy to have her as part of our program.
Oh, and I actually appreciate that you expanding on that a little bit, because I actually didn't realize until this morning that you are a volunteer.
I am.
I wasn't aware of that. So, like, hats off to you for what you do and what you bring to the table.
So watching Jacqueline in action is incredible. I have people, the feedback that I get from the service that she provides is outstanding, from other volunteers that attend with her, but also from clients and other people that are present. So Jacqueline primarily doing scheduled client appointments in our office or at one of the districts with one of our trauma counselors in the office. So Frenzy comes along just to provide that comfort to somebody. Petting an animal can be very soothing.
Yes.
And
it's actually a proven fact, right?
Yes.
That it is. And it's interesting, too. I wasn't aware of this until we'd actually spoken with Sergeant Beth Milliard with York Regional Police, and she brought on her therapy dog.
Right.
And she explained that the pup actually knows who to go to.
And that's very true.
Isn't that remarkable?
Frenzy is like that too. You can have a room, we've been in schools doing debriefs, and you have a room of 20 kids, and Frenzy will pick out 2, and he will routinely go back to these 2 kids back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And by the end of it, those 2 kids, I kind of do things where I sit with Frenzy on the floor so that the kids, if they want to pet Frenzy, they have to come down on the floor with us, so they have to actually interact. Yeah. And these teenagers, usually the ones that he's identified, will eventually, at the end of the day, they'll be sitting on the floor with me long after the other people have gone.
That's amazing. So it's a proven system, right?
And it's just so effective, especially with children and seniors. Would you agree? Children, sometimes Jacqueline will attend before they're going in to give a statement to police or after. So to try and reduce the anxiety before they go in, or just to try and calm down after they've come out of that. Because it's a very stressful process for adults, let alone children.
Oh, of course it is. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Any time that there's trauma, I mean, it's stressful for, as we were talking about in the first segment. I mean, the trauma is to everybody, right?
Yes. So we have 8 dogs. And 8 crisis therapy dog teams in the program.
Wow.
And
so Frenzy's not it?
No.
He's got friends.
But we keep Frenzy really busy. Jacqueline's very available and flexible, so we're able to work with her a little bit more often. But we have a variety of dogs in the program. So we have some lap dogs, we have some larger dogs, and we can offer that to the client, which is kind of nice. Some people want that dog on their lap, and other people just want to be beside the dog on the couch or whatever. So it's such a wonderful way to enhance our programs.
Oh, it's a fantastic idea. Now, you had said when this started. So how long has this been going on?
So since 2013.
Oh, wow.
And it's still a pilot, so we have to kind of figure that one out. But
okay, fast forward 6 years.
It's definitely successful.
I'm going to call that a successful pilot.
It certainly is, and we just keep growing the program as well. So, and sometimes police will call and say, can we have the dogs come out to a school if there's been some sort of a significant event where students need to be supported. Sometimes the school officials will call us. It really depends. But word is out there that we have this available, and it's extremely popular.
Okay, so it's gained its own popularity in the region, right?
Exactly.
And now, so we were talking about growth. Obviously, this is one area, and you were talking about some of your funding in some of the grow areas.
Okay.
I understand you had a couple of new programs.
So we have, we have a new Youth Justice Committee, which is youth ages 12 to 24, who we've recruited to get together and talk about some of the key issues in our area relating to crime, relating to tragic circumstance, and we're trying to do some awareness pieces. So we have, I think it's a group of 5 currently. We're still looking for more people to join, and they're meeting once a week right now in the evening and trying to put together some sort of a campaign to bring some of these issues to light. So, for example, talking about suicide amongst youth, mental health.
Oh, wow.
These are things that are happening in our community, and they need some sort of focus, right? So that people can talk about things and there's no stigma, especially with youth.
Yes.
We also have introduced a suicide bereavement support group and a homicide bereavement support group.
Oh, wow, both.
So the suicide bereavement group has been running for about 1.5 to 2 years. Okay. Extremely successul. About 12 participants for about a 10-week period. It's a closed group so that it establishes trust and privacy.
Yes.
What we do is we try to get them to a point where they can support each other on their own after the group, which has been happening and extremely positive for people. The homicide bereavement support group starts a little bit later into December, and we're currently recruiting for participants for that group as well. currently people have had to travel downtown Toronto to
wow.
go to a group like this. So to
Right.
have it in York Region
Absolutely.
is fantastic.
Yeah, no,
people.
it's nice to have it up on the side of the border, right?
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yes.
You know, every time that we talk, I learn a little bit more about victim services. I wasn't aware of the suicide prevention program, nor the homicide prevention program. So you can see where the powers that be have identified, obviously, that these are areas of need. It's very unfortunate, and I always say this about victim services. It's so unfortunate that we need this. But isn't it tremendous that we have this service available to us in our region?
And what's really helpful for people is that the group is focused on a very specific type of death.
Okay.
Because when you're affected by suicide or homicide, it's a little bit different than people who have had a sudden death with a medical emergency, things like that. People want to be with people that have had a similar experience.
Yes.
They feel more supported.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense.
Yes.
You know, bring like-minded or you know, people from similar experiences together, right?
Exactly.
To share, and I suppose they help kind of grow off of each other, right?
Yes, and they also, people in the group prefer that the facilitators have had experience with that type of loss. They really feel that you have to have experienced it to be able to really be able to help somebody.
No, actually,
to make sense.
I totally agree with that. I mean, you know, we call it life experience, right?
Yes.
To have a bit of that life experience kind of, you know, enhances your ability perhaps to listen to somebody.
Exactly.
I would think, right?
Just trying to meet the needs of our community
Yeah.
in the best way possible,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Now, I've been to your office, and a very busy place,
Yes.
right? You play numerous roles. Your specific role?
So my role is to manage the volunteer program.
Right.
But I wear whatever hat I'm told to wear. It's a day that is always changing. No 2 days are ever the same. You walk in the morning, you're not really sure what to expect, and because it's a service where we provide crisis intervention, it can be chaos. So you just have to flow with that, and you have to get used to that and jump in. We are an absolute amazing team at Victim Services.
Absolutely.
Everybody pulls their weight. Everybody jumps
Yes.
in. We have a
Yes.
phenomenal
I've seen
group
that.
of women
Yes.
amongst our staff.
No, they are absolutely amazing folks.
Yes.
You know, and you know, we got to jump into a bit of the volunteer stuff, because I mean, this is. Well, I can say it. Without volunteers, victim services would not fly.
Not at all.
That's all there is to it.
No,
Right.
or we would be so burnt out we wouldn't be able to do our jobs
You know,
effectively.
and we actually have some pictures of some volunteers that we're just going to slide through as we're talking. And you know, a lot of these volunteers, they've been there for a tremendous amount of time too, right?
Yes. So
And as far as age groups, it's all over the place.
it is all over the place. So we accept people over the age of 21.
Wow.
Right up, I think, you know, one of our volunteers, 77.
Wow.
So we have
And
people.
I love this one. This is one of my
Yes.
favorite ones right here. Just talking about his reason for volunteering.
Exactly. So we did
Right.
this as an exercise to provide some awareness to our community about volunteering within
Yes.
victim services. And this particular volunteer
Yes.
was an active member of victim services for 13 years.
He was so.
And Mike Hodge.
Yes.
And he wore victim services like a badge of honor. He was.
He most certainly did. I knew Mike on a personal level as well. I've known his family for a number of years, and one of the most famous things you hear him say is, "Got to go. Victim services is calling."
Yes, and he would do that any day, any time.
If it's available, I think we have a video that we're just going to shoot over to that talks a little bit about how he got to where he is.
Chose victim services as a result of my daughter suggesting that she thought that I would enjoy doing that, and following my retirement I was looking to make sure that when I got up in the morning there was something meaningful to do every day, every week. And I had some recreational hobbies that I had, but I wanted something that perhaps was a little more rewarding and would perhaps provide something for the community and our community members when horrible stuff happens.
That was a great video, and that brought it all into a nutshell, just who Mike Hodge actually was. And I've known his daughter Karen. She was actually one of the first officers I ever met, an absolutely wonderful woman. You can speak to Mike just a little bit.
Yes, so I had the absolute delight of supervising him as a volunteer for the last 7 years. And unfortunately, quite suddenly, Mike died at the end of the summer, this past summer. Such a void within our agency. Mike was that person that was there no matter when we called him to go out, to come in and help me with something, to go to an event. He was part of my schedule every week. I talked to him at least an hour on the phone every week. It was hard not to love him, even though you have professional boundaries as
it's true,
a manager. He was a ray of sunshine.
If somebody ever asked me, who is Mike, I'd say, look for the biggest smile in the crowd.
That's it.
Right, and that was just Mike, right? Like he lit up a room. He made everyone so comfortable and right.
But
so
Don, can you
on that
imagine
note,
what he did with our clients?
We have to thank Mike for his 13 years
Yes.
with Victim Services.